Northwestern University, and it was so spot on. I wanted to play it for this Hegemony Reveal and just kind of talk about it. So let me see here. Let me throw on presentation here and see if I can do this. Share screen. There it is. And see if I can. Here we go. There. And share. Okay, so this is just from Twitter. So I'm going to play this and hopefully everybody can hear it.
Let me explain. The best way to spot an idiot: look for the person who is cruel. Let me explain. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like us, the first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment, or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things that we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brain to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. This may be a surprising assessment because somewhere along the way in the last few years, our society has come to believe that weaponized cruelty is part of some well thought out master plan. Cruelty is seen by some as an adroit cudgel to gain power. Empathy and kindness are considered weak. Many important people look at the vulnerable only as rungs on a ladder to the top. I'm here to tell you that when someone's path through this world is marked with acts of cruelty, they have failed the first test of an advanced society. They never forced their animal brain to evolve past its first instinct. They never forged new mental pathways to overcome their own instinctual fears. And so their thinking and problem solving will lack the imagination and creativity that the kindest people have in spades. Over my many years in politics and business, I have found one thing to be universally true: the kindest person in the room is often the smartest.
Okay. So, I get back over here. Okay. So, well, could it be any truer what he said?
I loved it. I loved it for two reasons. Apart from, the absolute truth of what he said, the fact that over the last few decades, as we are seeing the current hegemonic system, whether we call it economy, whether we call it oppression, call it what we will, it's this hegemonic single narrative. As it is gaining power and ascendancy, what we are seeing are two things: destruction, absolute and utter destruction of nature. It's falling apart of this climate and our planet, and utter destruction of human bonds and ties, almost hand in hand. So when he said that cruelty has been weaponized to to gain access to power, that's exactly what is happening. Cruelty to the planet, to other humans, to non-humans, to all sentient beings. Just for what?
It's absolutely the truth too. What I really loved about that is he pointed out something that I have. He said that our reptilian brain or our instinct. I disagree that our instinct is not. No. I think that our instinct is towards kindness. Yes. I do. I don't think that. And I think that's something that the hegemony has been pushing, this narrative that we're just uh, these wild animals that don't have compassion, that we're just cruel. Yes, thank you by the way, thank you everybody who is on this live. This is awesome. I think this is a lot of people. Thank you for joining us today. Um, anyways, I think that it is just this narrative to to something that's not true. We are naturally loving, kind, trusting. What has evolved is trauma responses.
Yep.
Trauma responses to cruelty, trauma responses to hate, a upcheck, a fear all the time. Now we have a fight, flight, or freeze mode for survival, but I don't think that that is our state. I think
Yep.
that's just, yeah.
And see, if you look at the whole pattern of hegemony, what happens is those in power can't afford to let people be kind and empathetic and collaborative and build communities of trust and beauty and love and communication, because that would mean that people come together. That
Mhm.
would mean people standing by each other. That would mean people having your back. And that's exactly what hegemony doesn't want. They want these polarized, atomized, traumatized, consumerized individuals, so insecure, so scared, so fearful even of their own shadows, that A, they have to keep acquiring more and more stuff that they don't need, produced by organizations that don't need more profit to end up in landfills. So that materialism. The other is this entire atomization of this propagation of the story that individuals are competitive by nature, and the survival of the fittest and all those memes, that boosts up this narrative, were
Mhm.
propagated to keep people and communities apart from each other, and was
That's right.
propagated by a very specific kinds of people with very specific kinds of thinking. I mean, not everyone who ventures into another land wants to acquire it and grab it and colonize it and settle on it and kill the inhabitants who already live there.
Mhm.
Only a very specific handful of people set out to do it, calling themselves explorers, but actually thugs and
Yeah, but I
just
call I
basically dacoits and whatever,
right,
robbers.
right. I just want to real quick. Gary says, "Hot. Good morning, Trina. Amazing share. Love how both of you model what they described."
Yeah.
Hey, Gary,
Thank
we
you,
miss
Gary.
you.
Missing you.
He's out there doing something
I
great. So
know.
he is
I
awesome.
know.
I know it, and it's early for him, so he got up anyways. I already
Oh,
messed
wow.
up, Gary, with the thingy majig. You didn't show me how to do that, so it's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Hmm.
But we do have a couple other comments here that I want to. Let's see here. All right, Sana. There's not a there's not enough men around. I I think we have plenty of men around. I just think we have to redefine what man is. You know, you know, the waste. uh, oh, wow, the waster economy by the
Hi,
pale male.
Sunil. Thank
Bell.
you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to hear a male actually call it as I see it as well. You know, I've been having some interesting conversations with my clients around this subject as well, around kindness, empathy, the male female divide. But you brought up something, Shahana, that I wanted to kind of expand on, is that they need this. They need this cruelty, they need this divide, the
Yep. Yep.
hegemony. we can't come together collectively and live a egalitarian life in the
That's
current.
yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
counterproductive.
right.
And I just wanted to say Sunil is another great writer, and follow him. He's very
All
good.
right. Awesome.
And Sunil, if you want to pop in with your comments, would be very, very welcome. And Sana, please, your comments are very welcome. Any other
Yeah.
voices out there?
Yeah. I
Uh,
appreciate it.
so, so the thing is, with hegemony, and this is something I've experienced, I've observed, if not really lived in that, but lived partly. I've seen that there is this entire construct around it. And some of these pillars of that construct is to keep people separate, to keep people vying and competing with each other, to keep people thinking that meme of, survival of the fittest. So even if you walk into a corporate organization where I've like spent 20 years of my life, the entire structure of reward is individual based, right? Then this
Right.
whole bell curve and whatnot that existed from God knows when. And then they expect you to collaborate as a team, but they'll reward you as an individual. How does that work? And
Well, yeah.
one person does well, the others, I mean, no one is willing to share with anyone else because, oh my God, what if my work is stolen?
Mm,
I never got that concept because whatever we are doing collectively is everyone's work, it's
right.
everyone's team effort. But organizations don't work like that. For example, this entire myth of keep your salary hidden from others. Why? Who does it serve? It only serves the employer, the salary payer. It doesn't serve employees because, for all you know, 10 of them out of 12 are being cheated of what they rightfully deserve.
That's exactly right. And it's more about the individual's ability to negotiate with the
Exactly.
terrorists
Exactly.
rather than how like merit. We live in a quote unquote meritocracy
Exactly.
that
We
is not.
talk. No,
It's
no.
there's no
It's
merit
it's
base.
just a
It's
word. So
yeah.
if your merit is about negotiation skills and bullying someone and selling yourself, that's
Mhm.
different. But what about the skills that you're being hired for?
Right.
Hi,
Oh, I
Derek.
love this. Hi, Derek. Thanks for joining us. Kindness and empathy are words that I found to be just that. A poet and author once said, I'd rather sing a sermon than hear one preach. That's right. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely true because they crack the code. They know that we naturally want to be compassionate. They know we naturally want to be empathetic and caring and kind to each other. That's our base. So they knew that, and when I say they, I put hegemony in general, the controlling powers of this world, and they manipulate it by
Yep.
saying, "Here, we're good. We're a democracy." For example, with the United States, when in fact it's an oligarchy, um, just just a sham, just a bunch of propaganda, in order to quell and keep the citizenry calm, because we are all building up this rebellion inside. I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it. And it's
Yep.
like, enough. This is not our base. This is not how we're supposed to be living. And I think that once we do have our grand awakening individually, it's hard to exist in
And
this way.
it's hard if I'm going back to the little clip that we started our conversation with. It's
Hmm.
very hard to sway someone in a negative direction, someone who's inherently kind and compassionate. But
That's right.
if you fill someone with hatred and bigotry, they're so much more easier to sway. You can just say, hey, the problems are those people on the boats, are those people at the barriers, are those people over there trying to cross over into Canada, America, wherever, and to Europe. They are the problems. But
Yeah.
you know what? The economic system is just working fine. You just have to increase your working hours from 16 to 20, sleep less. Work three, no, three jobs. No, no, no. Work just five.
Right.
Maybe then you'll cover your bills. Maybe
Right.
you won't be homeless. Maybe you will still get your needs. But and maybe you won't see your children grow up because you'll be too busy spending making money for the powers that be.
Exactly.
So the whole fear syndrome and this whole, it's almost like they tie people in chains through all these narratives and then say, you know what, you can't dance because you were never meant to.
That's right. Right. And we've distorted the beat so much that you can't even come into time. You can't even sync up with your music
Yep,
anymore.
yep,
You
yep.
know, and that's the saddest part of it. It's just that joy has been taken out of our lives, and we've gotten used to being miserable. You know.
So, so Trina, what you just said triggered something. Is I would say the best act of defiance would be to be joyful, loving, kind, empathetic, compassionate, giving, serving. And
Exactly.
I, the more and more we do that deliberately, no matter what, with
Hmm.
absolute deliberate defiance, it's almost like the more beauty we create in whichever way. Some will write, some will paint, some will sing, some will dance.
Hmm.
Um, whichever way we create it, I think that's a nail in the what's the phrase? Nail in the coffin.
Coffin.
That's the phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it is not a surprise, and it's not a coincidence that the thing that they control is our music, our arts, and our entertainment.
yep,
It's
yep,
surprise
yep, absolutely.
because that is our we're vibrating beings. We live in vibration, harmony, and frequency. That's what drives everything in this world. The difference
Yep,
between a rock and a human is just the frequency and how the atoms move, you know. So we're all
absolutely.
in this resonance, and it's not a surprise to me that they're controlling the music, and
Yep.
what they put out is so toxic and
And
so.
anyone who thinks this is woo woo, quantum science is exactly this, that we are vibrating energies.
Yep.
And even if you tear us apart, even if you pull it apart, they will still vibrate at the same frequency no matter where.
That's right.
That's
The
science.
resonance is there. That
The
is
resonance
science.
exists.
Hmm.
And just because this whole construct was based on now obsolete science doesn't mean that has to continue. It
Yeah.
was quote unquote man made, man, deliberate use,
Hmm.
man made, and totally can be human destroyed
That's right.
and
You know,
human remade.
yeah, and you know what's so fascinating is you brought up quantum physics. I took a quantum physics class just for shits and giggles, and I was curious because I'm a curious person. And I honestly think that cracking the code is about always being curious and always
Yep,
wanting to evolve and realize the connections of everything because they compartmentalized everything to disconnect you from it, from the science to the
yep,
spirituality to the body. They, they segmented it off so that you cannot see the connection of mind, body, and spirit because
yep,
it's no way that you can be disconnected or one dies and one gets sick. So I always find it so interesting that they rebrand things and concepts that are ancient.
yep,
So now medicine is big pharma, you know,
yep,
herbal medicine. Now, acupuncture is
yep, which
mainstream.
has always existed for thousands of years. So
Thousands
that's
of
the
years.
whole thing, right? We, the wisdom, the sacredness, the beauty all exist. It's almost like I was just writing a while back, and I was thinking it's almost like that humans had to go through this rite of passage to
Mm,
truly appreciate what is being lost.
mm,
So it's
mm,
you have to come to the edge of the cliff before you can truly fly, because you've got to somewhere, you know that you're going to fall over. So either you fly or you go down. And
mhm.
we have reached that edge of the cliff moment where either we completely discard all that is weighing us down and fly, or we go down with hegemony and all.
Yeah, yeah,
And
you're absolutely right.
so
And the
poets
ancient,
like Rumi and Hafiz have been writing about these for centuries, way before. And we are
we're
now
on the same
used,
frequency. We're on the same frequency, so because that's exactly just what popped in my head. Oh wow,
yeah, oh, wow.
goosebumps, goosebumps. Okay, go ahead.
I know, I know. And you opened our dialogue pre recording with the commencement speech, which I was just listening to, which is why I could pull it up immediately. So look at that. And then
Yeah,
you say there is no resonance and vibration. I'm not buying that.
yeah. No, they basically they took what Native and Aboriginal people have been teaching for thousands of years and writing about and speaking about, and they co-opt it. They
Yep.
for profit. That's all. That's what
And they
they
just
do. They
packaged it and sold it. That's it.
exactly, exactly. And I'm sure that there is a native elder. Oh, quantum physics. You mean spirit walking?
Yeah,
Mhm. Spirit walking.
absolutely.
That's what we've been talking about. You mean consciousness is more than a body? You mean there are different dimensions? Uh,
They
I
know it.
can. They knew it already, and they've been telling people or trying to tell people for centuries until they were massacred. And
Yep.
why? Because they had this knowledge. And you
Yeah.
can't
And
control the narrative unless you
correct.
wipe out the truth.
And the same with the whole witch hunting episode of the Middle Ages. Why? Because they were women who were healers,
Mm,
who were medicine women, who were midwives, who understood the plants and the wildlife,
mhm,
and they scared the shit out of patriarchy.
mhm. Yeah.
It's
I just
ridiculous.
watched a video about patriarchy only being about 3,000 years old. Yet humans have been around for millions of years before
Yep, yep,
that. And there is a history, a long history in Egypt, Africa, and other places of kings and queens ruling equally
yep.
as yeah, and then there were everything was a matriarchal line before it became a patriarchal line because we could guarantee that our sons came from us,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that we actually gave
But,
birth to
yeah.
that child. Yeah.
And
So,
and with this ascendance of, if I look at it from, Eros and Logos,
mhm,
Logos was given so much ascendance in this current hegemony, along with
mhm,
everything else, the skin color and racism and all of that,
mhm,
in different forms, different layers of hegemony. Logos was given so much ascendance that what happened was the sacredness of the wisdom that has already existed, that could put a brake on this rampant destructive force, was not even heard, not even
right.
heeded. And now
Yeah.
what we have is this confrontation with a civilizational phase transition, which we
Mhm,
either embrace, it's not going to immediately change, but still, more and more people embracing it will eventually result in,
right.
maybe we won't live to see it, but something will happen.
I
Or the earth will continue just fine without us.
oh yeah. I the Greeks. we're the first ones to start this push and oppression of women, put them down, you
And
know,
nature,
and
Plato,
nature. Yeah, yeah.
Plato.
And and nature.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Um, because the Greeks like preteen boys. They didn't even like women. You know, the women just were breeders, get our supply, and I think that's part of the reasons why we still have sex trafficking and molestation and all these things are still happening in rampant ways because of the oppression of women. When women are leaders, and I would like somebody to try to disagree with me, but when women are leaders, they lead the societies prosper. You know,
and it's and when I say the feminine energy that exists in all of us, men or women.
yeah,
So
men
that
and women.
it's like this. You have the yin and the yang, and only one side has superseded the other,
Hmm.
and it has grown so heavy. It's now weighing itself and everything else down.
Yeah,
So it has to
it's
come back. Hegemony is never about balance. Hegemony just cannot be about balance. You
right,
cannot have a hegemonic narrative in a very, very diverse, pluriversal world.
right, right,
It just discounts anything and everything that doesn't come in its blinkered vision.
right. It has to be in a box or compartmentalized in such a way
It's this.
so that
It's just this. It's tunnel
yeah,
vision.
yeah, and they because they want to make their money, they want to keep their power, and so you know, you know,
The point is
we
to
can't
reach a
we
stage where money won't be able to buy food. Money
exactly.
won't save you from the waves crashing into your city. Money
Money's a
won't be able.
construct.
What
Money's a
will you do with the money?
construct. Yeah,
What will you do with all that power?
it's an addiction. That's what I think. What it is. It what's a mental illness. It's an imbalance. Of mind, body, spirit. They have no connection to, and I'm talking about hegemony, not men. Just
Yeah,
to make sure. They have no connection to nature, to themselves, and we've talked about this in part before. That when that disconnection is there, there's no way that they can cultivate anything else but more destruction and disconnect because we need connection to understand each other equally. We need to be on the same energetic field. So you have this really low vibration at the top
yep,
telling us what to do, what to think. And then all of us being born into this world a certain way. I would like to say high vibration, curious, wanting to know, wanting to understand, and then go squash. You can't have an imagination. You can't sing and dance. You can't be you. You have to
yep,
come right over here and be in this box like everyone else,
yep.
or
So the
you,
first thing hegemony strips you of is belonging, a sense of
yeah,
deep belonging to yourself
exactly.
and
Yeah.
to the community and society. Because if
Hmm.
you felt belonging as authentic you, then no one would care about power. So it's constantly trying to make you fit in but not belong. You can't
That's
dare to belong. Try to fit in. And the
right.
more you rebel against fitting in, then they have this super construct of society to make sure you're excluded, you're not invited, you're not part of a whatever,
Mhm.
whatever you're not a part of. Whether
Yeah.
it's in office peer group or school friends group or you're not in the in group anymore.
Yeah.
So I was reading this beautiful book. I often read it. I sometimes go back and reread it. Tokopa Turner's Belonging,
Mm.
Dreaming Yourself Home. It's a beautiful, I would say, a litany of the feminine and the deep rooted need to belong that is constantly suppressed because a sense of deep belonging emanating from everyone and everyone truly being their authentic selves will be so goddamn powerful for any kind of authority to handle that we can't allow that to happen. So,
Mm.
too many rules are put in place to keep you boxed in, to keep you small, to keep you constricted, to trim off your extra edges, to
Yeah.
stop you from being, like you said,
Light.
just like each
Light.
one of us.
Yeah. We're
I,
we're just
I, I know I deserve to be loved. You know that. But there are so many people who suffer the disillusion of thinking they don't deserve it.
and
It's painful.
I'm constantly coaching people like that too. And majority women, majority of black women. And it breaks my heart every time to hear that they don't love themselves. They don't think they deserve love. They've been abused beyond words. And it's just, it's nothing that they did. They just
Yep,
were born into this, this reality. And getting them to get to a place of self love is always cracky. That's the
yep,
opening. And then, what have you done for yourself? They don't even know. They've never done anything for themselves. So I make them do something for themselves. That was great.
yep,
And sometimes it's just breathing, Shahana,
yep, yep.
just
So,
breathing.
and hearers, listeners might be wondering how all of this is linked to hegemony, but it is. It is. It is the superstructure, the super in structure created all around us that diminishes us, each one of us, man, woman, child, each and humans, non-humans, more than humans,
Yeah.
diminishes each one, each living sentient being in so many, many ways. The beautiful fish in the ocean becomes another resource. A
Mm,
beautiful old growth forest is so much logs and lumber.
yeah.
I mean, everything is diminished,
Yeah.
made less, made less to fit into a profit box that someone dreamed up, or to fit into a social construct that
Right.
is unhealthy for everyone, to fit into a community that will not accept any diversity, any difference, yet dares to call itself a community.
Yeah. They've diminished. I like to call that the sacred because
Yeah,
we all are sacred. We
yep,
all we all are connected in this sacred way to the trees, to the animals, to the everything's. And there used to be uh, rituals, and there used to be ways for us to thank sacrifices of things. We didn't take too much. We only took what we needed. If you want to know how to live as a human being, look at Native American
yeah, or,
tradition.
or
They,
even the native traditions from India. For
yeah,
example, the
yeah,
Sundarbans in India is a unique mangrove deep inside the, deep inside the oceans where the sea meets the Sea of Bangladesh and India meets. And these
hmm
are forests, mangroves, deep forests,
hmm
really, really deep. But the tribes, the foresters living there, have to go in the forest for their living, either to collect honey or to collect wood or to just collect fruits, vegetables, whatever. Mostly to collect honey and fruits. So
hmm
before entering the forest, they give an offering to the god there. The the god is called Bon Devi, which literally translates into forest goddess.
hmm
As and in spite of that, they are often picked up by tigers. They're ferocious tigers of Sundarbans, well known. So I
wow,
had gone on a boat ride a few years back, and I lived in that boat amongst the some of the villagers. And I was speaking to them. I said, "Y'all live here constantly, someone or the other, and the tigers enter the villages also. And if they become a man eater, they'll repeatedly enter, drag away goats, drag away even humans. And that
mm,
happens very, very frequently." And I asked him, "So why don't you move inward or move to a city where it is less dangerous? You
mm,
won't get picked up by a tiger." I still remember what he told me. He said, how is it different? When you're crossing the road in a city, you can get run over by a car. Here, we might be picked up by a tiger. That's the way of life. How is it
Wow.
different in a city?
Wow. It's true. How is it different? You know, what popped in my head is, well, the tiger has to eat too.
Yeah, and they're so attuned to that place.
Yeah.
I mean, they're every family has lost someone because
Yeah.
tiger tracked them away or they fell into the river and the crocodile ate them.
Yeah.
Huge crocs over there, okay? But
Hmm.
of course, one is they're extremely poor, that's there. But there is also this connection to the forest
Hmm.
that someone just going in to profit here won't understand. For them, the forest is a resource. For
Yeah.
these people, the forest is not only a livelihood, but also their home.
Mm. Yeah.
And there is
We
an
all live.
entire series of stories around the forest goddess of
I
Sundarbans.
honestly, I think I remembered a story, animation about this exact forest that you're talking
There's a
about.
famous, there's a little episode that Amitav Ghosh refers to in his book The Hungry Tide on the
Yeah.
Sundarbans.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, oh, that went
Yeah,
by so
yeah.
fast. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, any closing thoughts, Shahana?
You go first.
Okay. My closing thoughts are that, I if more people say what this legislator says and starts walking that talk, like Derek says, kindness and empathy are not just words, but a way of being. Um, I see us shifting out of the hegemonic space rather quickly. And I just think that if we make our auto default what would be the kindest thing to do, we would be healing ourselves as well.
Yeah.
It's energy. So that's my thought. Um, Shahana?
Yeah, I think I just wanted today end with a kind of a call to action to everyone, to us, to myself, to anyone listening, and anyone who might listen to this later, and to generally to the universe. That be aware of hegemony and
Mm,
don't let it trap you. Don't let the toxicity of hegemony spoil the beauty inside you. Hold on to that within, that is, that sacredness within. Because if each one of us decide to be kind and compassionate, no handful of oligarchs on this planet can move us.
exactly.
They are a handful. We are billions.
There are few
Yep.
and we are many. And
Yep.
just remember that inner power. All right. I thank everybody for joining us today on
Thank
Hegemony
you.
Revealed. Next, in a couple weeks, Gary will be back. And of course, as usual, if you'd like to be a guest on Hegemony Revealed, please reach out to one of us. So far, I've been doing the planning around that a bit, but we are a team and a collaboration. And thank you for joining us today.
And thank
Bye.
you, Trina. Special thank you for managing everything. I'm super tech unsavvy, so thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. See you soon.
See ya. Phew.